Well, after last night's presidential debate, a lot of people are talking about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. That's no surprise, but a lot of people, of course, are focusing on what they said, and they said a lot.
They said a lot. They just never stopped, right? So this morning, we're going to take a look at the emotion behind some of the answers they gave last night. So joining us to analyze it, Gleb Tsipursky, who is an assistant professor at Ohio State, and you're focusing on the emotions, the purpose, the body language behind all of this. And we have, what, 4 clips to share this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And the first one we're going to look at is Hillary Clinton. We'll start with her. She's talking, of course, about the controversial video of Donald Trump, the one that leaked over the weekend.
And he has said that the video doesn't represent who he is. But I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is.
Gleb, what is she doing there that has a little more meaning than what we might just hear in the words?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting moment. And Clinton is expressing frustration and anger, but as a woman, she can't vocalize it with her body language. Now, why is that? In our society, we have certain gender norms around emotional expression. And women who express anger and frustration in powerful ways, in the ways that Donald Trump does, are usually seen as excessively aggressive, are seen as too macho, are seen as too bossy. There's even the term bitchy applied to them.
Well,
so
right, they think you're being erratic and irrational as a woman if you do that.
So
well, you know that.
I know,
You come from that perspective in a much more visceral way than I do. I know it from the research, and you know it from your life.
Right.
So if a man said those same words, what would he have done differently that would have been the more aggressive way to do it?
He would have had a much more powerful body posture, kind of standing up and saying things aggressively. The video definitely represents who he is. That is a much more aggressive posture, tonality. Now, if Hillary Clinton said that, this video definitely represents who he is, she would have been perceived as way too aggressive, as way too macho, as way too bitchy. And this is really something that is an important element of this election, that Hillary Clinton can't tap into fear and anxiety and frustration and anger in the same way that Donald Trump can, because she's a woman. And this is a major hindrance to her throughout the campaign, because fear and anxiety and anger are major motivating factors for how people vote and for how people make their choices. And in the next clip, we can see how Donald Trump plays into fear, anger, and anxiety.
Let's take a look at that. Here he's actually talking about the Democrats and about whether they've used the phrase radical Islam. Take a look.
She won't say the name, and President Obama won't say the name, but the name is there. It's radical Islamic terror. And before you solve it, you have to say the name.
Okay, so what do we think about this one?
Right. So here you can see Donald Trump being angry, being frustrated, and he is being this authoritarian figure who is strongly pushing this idea that, President Obama and Hillary Clinton are bad because they won't say the name of radical Islamic terrorism. And we can see the body posture, him standing in an authoritative, powerful way, gesturing in a way that Hillary Clinton would not have been able to get away with because of the social norms in our society.
She has to walk this very fine line because she has to come across as strong, but not hit what you're talking about where you cross that line somehow.
Right. Well, and I think everybody knows this. You've got conflicting personalities here where he's the outrageous one and says all these controversial things. So it seems in all of these instances, she's trying to be the cool, collected, rational, voice of reason. And you can see they each play to their own, persona that they've created.
That's right.
That's right. We have another clip of Donald Trump talking about Hillary's judgments.
She's made bad judgments on Libya, on Syria, on Iraq. I mean, her and Obama, whether you like it or not, the way they got out of Iraq, the vacuum they've left, that's why ISIS formed in the first place. They started from that little area, and now they're in 32 different nations, Hillary. Congratulations. Great job.
What was he doing?
So you can see an interesting use of posture, kind of this posture and this hand gesture, these motions. That's a frequent thing that Trump does, using his hands to make his points in a stronger way. So this body language, associating hands with gestures, that's one thing that he's doing. Another thing is repetition. He, throughout the debate, this is an example of a number of times when he talked about Clinton's bad judgment. Now, there's a psychological phenomenon that gets at our emotions that we don't recognize, which is called the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect is basically the idea that if you repeat something often enough, it starts to seem true. And regardless of whether it's true or not, now I'm not making a statement about whether Hillary Clinton has bad judgment or not personally, but Trump keeps saying this, and he kept saying this throughout the debate, he keeps saying this throughout the campaign. So to voters, to listeners, it begins to sound true regardless of whether it is or not.
Let's take a look at one more clip. This one is from Hillary Clinton. She's talking about the Trump effect. Take a look at this one.
In fact, teachers and parents are calling it the Trump effect. Bullying is up. A lot of people are feeling, uneasy. A lot of kids are expressing their concerns.
She's using her hands.
She is using her hands more. And so here you could see that's not something as typical for Hillary. I think she's trying to improve from her previous debate performance and general public speaking performance. So I think she's getting coaching in how to use gestures and how to connect with people. She's using terms like feeling and concerned. And previously, she would not have been using terms like feeling and concerned nearly as much. So she's trying to connect with people more. She's trying to be more emotional, get away from accusations and perceptions of her as cold and inauthentic, and expressing concerns for families, for children around bullying.
We have about 10 seconds left. So are they practicing these things, do you think, ahead of time? Or is this just who they are and the way they express themselves?
There is no question that they're practicing these things.
Are they?
Especially Hillary, we know, has been practicing for a long time. Trump has been practicing definitely since the last debate. He's much improved in his positioning and body language.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Gleb, thanks
absolutely.
so much.
Gleb Tsipursky from Ohio State. Did I even say that right? I hope so.
It's close enough.
All right.
Thank you. Coming up, we're going to gallop back out to the fairgrounds.
Cameron Fontana joins us with more on the quarter horse Congress.